We had bulls fighting back over the course of the weekend in the final hour, right on a knife's edge as things looked at their absolute worst. We saw them strike back. In today's show, we'll talk about, are they properly back, or is this a trap that could be setting up for the bears to take back control? Stay tuned till the very end of the show. Smash the like button. Let's get straight into the show content. We did cover a whole lot of this over the course of the weekend. If you weren't watching, make sure you watch the weekend videos as well, especially during pressing times like this. On Saturday, I effectively covered the setup over here for Bitcoin, for Ethereum, and for hype over here. And we said that if bullish, this is the trajectory that you'd want to see. And we pretty much got it exactly according to that. You can see how it played out over there, holding those lows, price pushing up, recovering back above the pink box on the top side. Same thing over here for Ethereum. Hyperliquid came a little bit lower, but nevertheless holding that trend line. And again, all of this was covered not only in the Whale Room Discord, but also on YouTube over the course of Saturday. And there it is. Those are the moves that we're looking for, playing out pretty much to perfection over there. So what next? Where's price going to be going? We also spoke about on Saturday the criticalness in this video, which I'll just play over here. This was Saturday's video where we said, you know, this is what you want to see. If bulls can reclaim that line, there we go, that line over there, there is a little bit of hopium, and that is what we got, right? If we go through to the weekly chart, you got the close exactly above the white line. There's a whole lot of news that came out as well over the course of the weekend. We saw President Trump coming in saying that Americans will get at least $2,000 dividend payments, excluding the high income earners. And many speculate that just like the stimmy checks that came in, stimulus checks back in 2020, that this money is going to move straight into the market. And they're going to, of course, start to bid up crypto. Well, look at what needs to happen price action wise in order for that to be confirmed. He also came out and he said that $20 trillion will be injected into the US economy until the end of 2025. And then we also had the US Senate votes at 60-40 to advance the bill with a major breakthrough, which will end the government shutdown. Pretty amazing, right? Because everything that we said in terms of the technicals suggested that this type of news would probably come out around about now, right? We gave a 2-week period. We said either last week or this week. Within that time period, we expect a bit of a local low. I don't want to call it the major low because there is a chance still that you could put in a lower high and go down again, but at least a local low where the pendulum would swing and the bulls would have the opportunity to potentially take control. And that's where we find ourselves. That's where we're at right now. So the bulls attempting to take control. Now, should you FOMO into the market right now if you were sidelined? Well, the answer is no. The answer is that pretty much all of our plans for the next part of the move is going to be as following. I'm going to just put it on a silver platter for you as always, straight up. There's a CME gap, right? There's going to be your CME gap over here on the futures chart. You know, of course, price opened up really strong, and that just so happens right now to be just below the Monday range. So I guess that's going to be one area of interest that we're going to be looking at, and I'll price label that for you as well. So the middle of that gap is going to be around this $104,000 region. So ideally, you're going to get some sort of a pullback at some point during this week, and that would set in a high low. So maybe, you know, something price continues to mark up, and then you get some sort of a sell-off over there at some point during the week. And then that, if that holds, becomes the trade opportunity for anybody that is not in the market. But I won't leave you empty-handed. There are trade opportunities for you guys today as well in the traditional markets, right? So get ready for those. If you do want to participate in that trade, by the way, the one I'm about to take, I'm going to be taking that one on Pi-Nex. There's a link in the description below over here. If you use that, you'll get a $1,000 sign-up bonus depending on how much you put in. It shows you with a video of how to claim all your bonuses, right? You can click that YouTube video linked as well below. So you have to use that link if you want it. It is specially arranged for you guys. So let's get into it. Let's take the trades over here. We have a couple of trades that are lining up. Some of the price charts are moving in the direction of what we looked at, which we said, again, no blind trades, right? We're not just blindly executing limit orders over here. We need to assess what price action does as it comes into these key levels, one of which is gold. The other one is silver. And then I have an IBIT trade as well for you guys today as one of the ETFs, a potential long. So what we're looking at over here for gold, this trade's not ready yet, but the plan of action is if we sense any form of weakness around the 0.618, and of course we can extend this a little bit further. We can even look up to the 0.786. So anywhere within this vicinity, we're going to assess as gold and silver both move into these regions over here. If we start to see a bit of weakness and it looks like it's going to roll over as per the drawing, we're going to go short, right? Stop losses would then go above those highs over there to stop out the short trade. The other one that we're looking at, exactly the same setup over here, and it's going to be on silver. We'll put on the 786 Fib retracement level as well. Remember, silver on the weekly chart does look bullish. This is kind of the a conflicting signal, which is why we actually have to wait for price action to roll over, right? You can't just set the limit order over here. You need to wait for silver to push up and then to actually start to turn the corner and come down with a lower high. And then we'll be looking for a potential short trade over there on silver. And then let's go through a couple of the other things as well. Maybe we'll go straight to it and we'll take that trade immediately. I covered this on Saturday as well, and it's IBIT, right? IBIT we identified was coming into a pretty key level over here. So there's IBIT. It's got this massive parallel channel that's in play, and you hit the low boundary. It's not my favorite type of trade to take. The reason why is I'm not the biggest fan of diagonals. They can be useful, but horizontals and high time frame moving averages often hold a much higher weighting, on a sliding scale of what's most significant versus least significant. This is worthwhile to bid, but I won't go sizable because theoretically it's still in a downtrend, right? And trend is your friend till the end. But we're going to be playing the parallel channel over here and just give the bulls a little bit of benefit of doubt to say that time reinforces a key level. And it's been a long time since you tested this. The last time was April 2025. Therefore, it's worth an attempt, right? It's just a trade setup over here. And I've set the grid up. This is what it looks like. I'm willing to, just in case that it has like a massive roll over here. It's on Pinex, by the way. It's the ticker would be IBITX, right? IBITX. So in case it rolls over very aggressively, I'm giving leeway to buy down to 52, and we'll probably end up getting out at break even if the trade fails. And then I'm going to be longing up to about 72. So there it is. My grids are set. You can pretty much just copy it. It's IBITX/USDT. They do have a whole lot of different tokenized stocks that are on Pinex. So that's the trade. And I'm only going in on this account is like almost $100,000 account. I'm just taking like $2,000 in this trade. Everything has set up. Wait, let's just quickly see. Let's just double check over here. Do I have too many grids? Maybe let me try a little bit. I either have to put more grids or less grids. Let's try that again. There we go. Less grids. So 100 grids works for my capital over here. And the bot is created, right? It's only going to execute probably later on today when the market opens because this is TradFi. So I will make sure that that is also linked. If you go through to Pinex, you can say copy my strategies. And if you click that, you'll see that all of the current trades will be listed over there. So I'll make sure that they update them because there's actually one that's missing. The current trades are these, right? Let's go through to it. I hope I haven't been logged out of this. Let's just double check. Okay, no, we're all good. We're all good. So these are the current trades that we have on the table. We're in a MicroStrategy short trade up 19%, BTC long trade up 7%, and then ETH, which is the more sizable trade. We were down quite a lot on that, but we added more. We added more to the investment or more margin near the lows last week, and of course now we're basically back at break even. We should move into profit very, very, very soon. So let's quickly update you on some of the other things. Let's just quickly run through the list over here. We'll start off with the S&P 500. And I just need to do a quick refresher here, guys. Apologies. This is looking a bit slow here today for my computer for some reason. But let's go back to that. So S&P 500, it looks good. I think that was a little bit of a shakeout. You're recapturing the SR flip region over here. So still maintaining that long exposure. And we'll just keep riding this depending on where price hits or when price hits that trend line. I think would be a big profit taking area. So if it happens, let's say in the coming days or weeks, just over 7,000. Dow Jones, also a strong reaction into the SR flip region over here. It's probably going to go higher. QQQ, which is the NASDAQ, also broke down below the SR flip. But if the S&P 500 is already getting back above that, I think the strong reaction off of this and the positivity around the government shutdown being lifted might inject a little bit of optimism in the market. And then remember, the key thing is this applies for crypto too. What we need to assess is with the increased emotions, and I'll show you on the emotional scale, right? The fear and greed index. With new emotions coming into the market, are you able to break out to new highs, or are you in lower high territory with low volume? If we are in lower high territory with low volume, big warning signal, right? That's something you need to be aware and cautious of. Just a quick run through on some of these stocks. Apple, okay, looks okay. NVIDIA is probably going to bounce. We wanted to go short this, I'm sure you guys remember, and I closed it out for like a 1% profit because it was hanging around here too long. But the initial trade idea was we were long. We wanted to flip short at this exact level if you had been watching the shows. And, you know, sometimes you get shaken out a bit too early. It played out all the way back down to the re-entry. Now, theoretically, I would be looking at this as support. And if you weren't long on NVIDIA, you could probably already start to look for longs. Okay, Tesla looks fine. You know, Tesla could chop around here a while between about 390 and 420. So one area of interest. Meta has been absolutely smashed. That's got a lot of work to do to come back strong. Not much comment on the others. Okay, Amazon at a key point. There's theoretically a trade setup over here as well, where you're coming into the range high breakout area. It's also the fair value gap mid-level that got tagged exactly over there. So this is your SR flip right into that area over here. So theoretically, you can, if you are trading some of these stocks, you know, you can start to look for those long opportunities. Coinbase also coming into key support over here. If Bitcoin and crypto bounces, you should see the same thing over there. A little bit of a bottoming process over here for Circle, but the overall trend is still down. Robinhood snap back in a big way. I would leave this one alone. We've milked that for all it's got. No trades needed over there. Now, quick update on MicroStrategy since we are still in the short trade over here. Remember what I said, you could theoretically shave some profits off the table. Generally speaking, the way that it works is most of the time, if this is your intended target, which is all the way down here. Let's just quickly highlight that. If this is your intended target, you would typically shave incrementally profits along the way. So if your trade goes into profit, there's always a chance that it could snap back, right? So you don't want to leave all the money on the table. You want to take some of that off. So the way that you can do that is, you know, you can just shave incrementally. And usually the way that most traders work is you, if this is 100% of the way through your intended profit-taking zone, people would take, generally speaking, about 33% over there, 33% over there, and then you'd leave the last 33% for the final take profit over there. So I'm going to leave that up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's up to you when you want to shave profits over here. I still do plan on riding this all the way down, but nothing's going to go down in a straight line. There's a good chance that this reverts all the way back to entry to test this as underside resistance before making its next move down, which basically summarized means probably not a bad idea for you to just at least take a little bit off the table over there, as this probably will come back towards the entry and you don't want to leave all that money on the table, right? So those are your trades. I think that just to give a very quick summary of what we just looked at over here, getting ready for the gold and silver short trade as a potential if it shows weakness. Keyword, if it shows weakness. We're not limit ordering into anything over there. That's the one. Second thing is we longed IBIT over there on Pinex. Third thing is you can look to take profits off of MicroStrategy and manage some of that trade. Just shave a little bit off to pay yourself. Stop should be at break even, so you have no chance of losing. And then I guess the fourth thing is that we could probably throw on, you know, if you're really, really looking and hunting for trades, Amazon. Amazon might have a bit of a long trade setup within this vicinity, so put it on your watch list, right? So let's move on. Let's get into crypto. All of that is there for you, linked in the description below. Get your $1,000 sign-up bonus for Pinex, and let's move into crypto, right? So the long to short ratio, relatively neutral. What's interesting to track later on today when this refreshes is going to be what the sentiment is around Bitcoin, right? Sunday putting in 5-6% move. That's pretty sizable. You know the saying, never trust a weekend pump. Well, we'll see if that comes into reality, right? I think that if you do get a pullback and you don't trust the weekend pump, this would be it. The pullback would be into the CME gap, just below the Monday low, the current Monday low. Hopefully that happens sometime tomorrow or Wednesday, and then you have a beautiful, beautiful trade setup. You can go and vote as well. Go and vote. Go to the, here you go. Go to the polls. Do you trust this pump? Yes, looks legit, 45% of you believe that. No, it's a trap, that's 30% of you. Doesn't matter short-term trading. I'm in this camp, to be honest with you, 21%. And then we have the peanut gallery who have wiser ideas, right? 4% of you. I hope you gave me your full analysis in the description below. If you haven't and you clicked other in the comments, please, full analysis. I need to know what you're thinking. And let's move on, right? Cool. So back into this over here, we want to assess as the market is moving up like it is now and this resets over here, what is the sentiment? Like, are we popping up into the 40-50 region, back into like, cautious optimism, doubt, equilibrium? Where are we and what is the volume doing? That's going to be a very, very key telltale sign. So the volume is over here. As you can see, price is now moving up. It is nothing but lower highs and lower lows on the daily time frame. So lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. And therefore, as you come into this area of interest now, is this going to be, a rejection, or are you going to smash through it? And what is the volume going to be doing? If you look at the volume right now, this move up over here has been met with drop off in volume, which means it's a warning sign. But I want to be clear. We do still look for the long trades, as we did on Saturday, as we did even before Saturday. We actually highlighted first Bitcoin coming into these areas, ETH coming down into that area over there, 3,200. We said worst case scenario will drop down to 3,100. Hype, we said, coming into the $37. Look at that, absolutely perfectly tagging that. So it's not like we're not looking for the long trade setup. It's one step at a time. And that's why I clicked on this button over here, right? Doesn't matter to me. I'm short-term trading. We take each step as it comes. Once we took that step, we said that we got the move up. Then we said, what we need to see next? We need to see price action come down, hold around here. So for Bitcoin, to make it easy for you, we didn't want to see a price drop below $100,000. We wanted to see it bounce off $100,000. We wanted to see it rally up and overcome this underside resistance at $105,000. And as you can see, that is what happened on the lower time frame, right? Price came down, held $100,000, rallied up through $105,000, but now you have this overhead resistance. So there's a couple of new things that we need to see on the lower time frames. And I only mention this now in the beginning because I need you to understand and see how all of these things build up together, which means that, even though the high time frame looks wrecked and the dailies are in those downtrends, as I just showed you, low volume downtrending, it doesn't mean that we don't take the long trades, because we take the long trades in anticipation that the price will revert to the area where it's most important for bears to reject and most important for bulls to reclaim. And that point is now more or less where we're getting to. And then that would mean we'd have an early long trade if things begin to switch, if bulls do take control and the picture begins to shift. We're not buying so much higher. Now, I always talk to you guys and tell you there's multiple different cohorts of people. You got the cohort of people that are extremely cautious, very, very, very safe. If that was you, you needed to wait. So the message that I want to share is coming up now for the longer term people, the high time frame investors, the extremely cautious cohort. Then you had the extremely aggressive cohort. And I told you you'd be buying down here, right? Into these levels over here. $99,000, $100,000. You wanted to see this move up. Now you're in the money. You took a big risk, right? This was incredibly risky because this could have easily fallen through. So if you're in that cohort and you took the trade, drop in the comment section a number 1, right? Actually, drop a number 2 because you're in cohort number 2. Drop a number 2 if you were the aggressive trader. I actually want to see what it looks like over here in terms of the comment section. If you're in cohort number 1 and you wanted safety and you're very conservative, drop a number 1. Okay, so give me a 1 or 2 and we'll let the feed come through and then we'll move through into what this means for each of you going forward, right? So, okay, we got 2, we got 1. Let's just see quickly. Let's get those comments rolling through for the live viewers, and then we can just see more or less, like, do we have more 1s or more 2s? Okay, more 1s or more 2s. David coming in with a 2 over there. So if everybody can just quickly drop that in the chat, all of you guys, even if you're driving, I don't care. Just don't act like you're not on your phone anyway while you're driving. 2, 1. Okay, we got 1s and 2s. It looks relatively evenly split so far, right? Pretty split over here so far. So let's get into what you need to see. All right. I'll mention if you're 1 or 2 at each section over here. Okay, I just want to have a look at this firstly over here very quickly. Total liquidations, right? 342 million. This is very, very, very low. So, of course, we just came out of a weekend. There's not going to be much. This is where trap scenarios can set in, which is what you need to be aware of and cautious of. For example, this move up over here, because there's low liquidity and low volume on a weekend, it is actually very easy for this to happen. And you can see there wasn't much volume, but yet price went up. And that just shows you how thin the order books are. The good news is that we did see a bit of a reset over here in the daily exchange volume. That was one of the things that we wanted to see. You started to get that to roll back towards the upside. Now we want to see continuation of that. We've seen enough, in my opinion, of the ETF outflows. This is something I spoke a lot about. We've seen it. The ETF outflows create the opportunity for a major low to form to reset over here in the market. And our base case was we wanted to see that for a few weeks in a row whilst Bitcoin holds $100,000 and doesn't break below that. And if that is the case, there is some hopium, which is still alive within the market. All right. And we wanted to see all of that happen with all the various different metrics. I'm not going to go through the list over here, my full checklist, right? As per the comments, you guys can go back on any of last week's videos for the full checklist. So good news, price bounce off of this. Good news, as per the YouTube video over here, we reclaimed this key level. Now you need to start to challenge and get back above the 21 EMA. All of this is still theoretically risky, but we said if the bulls could strike back with a big enough move to reclaim that 103,388 level, this would potentially begin to shift things, and it's going to be a big uphill battle for bulls. The other thing that we saw, which was vitally important, is we said that time is running out. All the major lows have occurred when the RSI dropped around this 44 to 50 region, but it didn't spend that long below the 50, which is the yellow line horizontally running across the screen over here. And then the RSI quickly reverted, recaptured the 50, and then at that point in time, the low was in, as per all of these major corrections, which are marked off with the green bars. And each corrective phase should be shorter and shorter if the bull market is still alive. So 30 bars, 8 bars, 9 bars, 5 bars, 4 bars, and now we're beginning to move up. So if the low is in, if the bull market is still on, then I can tell you that price should re-rate higher very quickly, very, very, very quickly. If price does not re-rate higher very, very, very quickly, then it increases the chances for cohort number 1, the conservatives, that this is a trap, which means for cohort number 1, you're probably going to be of the mindset that you want to begin to offload or de-risk some of your positions, right? So therefore, price needs to re-rate higher very, very quickly within the next week or two. We spoke about the swing failure pattern on the 5-day time frame, which we now, you ran down, created a swing low, recaptured. Basically, you're going to start to want to see it break back above this. And if the liquidity theory is correct, you sweep the lower side liquidity and then you run for the top side liquidity, which would be in alignment with shorter and shorter corrections and the RSI recapturing very quickly and running up aggressively over the coming days. So again, I'm talking purely to cohort number 1. Cohort number 2, we're going to get to you guys soon. Cohort number 1, this is the most important thing that you want to see. So irrespective, these high time frame charts are just things that will start to take place as this, which is your most important chart, unfolds. So your most important chart is this one over here, and you must see the breakdown level reclaimed, which is 111,513. So what you're looking for the conservatives to be confident that things are working out for you and bullish again is a big move up, throw back into the yellow line, which is going to be a major point of control. It is also your SR flip region. So previous resistance, 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 support, rallies up, support, rallies up, support, rallies up, support, small bounce, fails, right? So this is showing you that this is where all the action is happening on this yellow line. This is where all the action is happening. And this is what I said, which is why we still look for the long trades as we did over here. We still look for those long trades. Price coming off of here, we longed here, price coming off here, rallying up, because we know there's a good chance that price will mean revert into the action point, right? Which is going to be that 108,388, where both bulls and bears have the most to win or lose, depending on which side of the coin you're on, right? So you want to see price rally up. You want to see price break above that 111,500. That would show that not only have you reclaimed a very key level, the yellow line, that is your line in the sand, but you've also had a market structure shift in the sense of breaking your previous lower high. Vitally, vitally, vitally important. Next this must all be met with a rise in volume. Okay, so what sort of volume profile are you looking for? I'm going to look for something over here. I would say you're looking for your volume that you want to see is probably going to look more similar to this. So if you look at this over here, this is kind of what you want to see as you recapture and get above. See how that volume green starts to pick up, price is moving with it. If, however, that is not the case, and you have volume that looks more like this is where all these trap scenarios came into place. Okay, look at that volume over there. So volume, and let's actually put on our tool so that it remains on. There you go. And the volume, right? So big moves up, volume at that height. Volume drops off relative to this volume over here. Price puts in 3 green candles, but yet volume is going lower. Price puts in even more green candles. 1, 2, 3, 4 green candles. Where's the volume? Even lower. Price puts in 3 green candles, low volume. So therefore, if this begins to put in multiple green candles to get you above, you must see the volume increase. Very, very, very important. This is truly how you're going to be able to look under the hood to assess, are you getting trapped or not? Now, we have to tie this in with a major event that's probably going to make the headlines, which most of the time you fade, right? You've been conditioned to fade this signal, this next signal that I'm about to show you. But using the volume chart over here in relation to what's happening within price will give you a valuable, telltale sign of, is the top in and we're going much lower, or was this all just a shakeout and then your high time frames are going to line up? So we're still with cohort number 1. But cohort number 2, you can start to look for trade opportunities around this, which is going to be coming soon. It could be as soon as today or tomorrow, where you would therefore theoretically be looking for short trades. Why? Well, we know that the order block of a breakdown can oftentimes have price revisit that level. That's the first thing. Second thing is we may as well put our fib on over here from the high to the low now that we have a more confirmed low. And what you can see is price is currently coming into that golden pocket. That's one potential rejective zone. The other potential rejective zone is always going to be around the order block, which is the level that you want recovered. And that level lines up with the 0.786 and the 886, right? There we go. 786 and 886. So this cluster becomes a big resistance zone. And this is an all-important level for the bulls to get back above. Okay, so assess as price is moving up. If the volume is low and price is moving into that $109,000 level, then you can actually start to look for low-risk short trades. Why is it a low-risk short trade? Well, you're very, very close to your stop loss. So you can begin to look for those short trades over there and possibly trade all the way back down to the bottom of the trading range. Stop loss would be placed over here at about 111,500. But you never blindly just limit order these trades, right? You need to assess the weakness as it's approaching that on a low time frame. With the drop off in the volume, is the volume still dropping? But here is the next big signal that's going to line up with this, and that should be coming soon, probably this week, I think. Can anyone guess what it is? Can anyone guess what is the signal that everyone is going to be talking about? Everyone's going to talk about it this week, I guarantee. Let's give it a minute or so for everybody. There we go. Arnold coming in first over there with Death Cross, right? Don't forget. Exactly. Death Cross is coming up. So what you'll notice is this trade plan lines up with the Death Cross. So what I'm hoping for, because let's tie this all together to not confuse you. Let's tie all of this together because we have the super low time frame, guys, as well. What I would ideally like to see and what I hope for is price to pull back into the Monday low, which means you can now start to, I guess, look to take profit on any form of weakness off of these trades that we took. So prices rallied up. We've had a beautiful move, from the entries. This is like $7,000, $8,000 move. Everyone gets excited with all the upcoming government shutdown things. Sentiment picks up. And then hopefully you get a little bit of a leverage flush, all the over-levered people coming in off of the news-driven events. Price comes down into the low. Take the long trade off of this 104,365. So you take the long trade. You long it back up like this. Here you go. You long it back up into this area. And then you look, is it weak, right? Are you coming into the death cross and rejecting? Because price oftentimes rallies into these things like magnets. Same thing if you have a golden cross, price will oftentimes be trading way above the golden cross as it's about to happen. And then you mean revert like a magnet back into the golden cross. Well, it's the same thing over here. But then the true test comes in at this intersection point. When this cross happens, and I'm just going to estimate when it's going to happen. It's probably going to happen this week. It's going to be either Wednesday or Thursday, I think, is when this is going to happen. So again, trade idea. If you get a flush, you long into the death cross. You long into the death cross. You ride price up. And then if the volume is dropping off and you're sensing weakness into the 0.786 to 886 level, which coincides with the death cross, that becomes a short trade. And if that short trade plays out below these lows, you know, that's going to look really bad. Very, very, very bad, right? So that's the plan. That is essentially what we're looking at for this week. That's the way that I'm just trying to think about how price action will unfold over the coming days. You can already see a lot of the market is going long over here. Deltas on high block capital, long on BTC, long on ETH, long on Solana, long on SUI, slightly negative on Sonic, slightly positive on ASTER. It's not insanely out of this world positive, by the way. The deltas meaning everybody and their moms are long. But if it were, we would see that the long to short ratio over here would be heavily skewed. That's not the case. So this is the plan, right? This is the plan. This is what I'm looking at. This is what I want to see happen over the course of this week. And I'll be planning the trades accordingly around that. So far, we've given you a whole bunch of stock trades that you can look at, traditional market trades. We've planned out the crypto plan of action, exactly what we want to see from there. You can see there's a little bit of liquidity up here. It's a decent amount. I think this is enough for price action to go for. Anything over 20 million on a daily, I consider enough of a draw. And that is at 107,200. So we'll look a little bit more on the lower time frames. So for the guys that took these initial trades, I guess that's a place, right? You're coming into this resistance, directly into this resistance. And that is exactly where that liquidity is stacked. So that might be a good place for those of you that are in cohort number, the number 2, you're very aggressive and you took those trades. You can take your profits into that area. Okay. And then you can even look to go short, maybe back down to the Monday low. There we go. Sweep the Monday low. So take profits, short all the way back down to Monday low. By that point, we'll have our Monday high as well. So hopefully you have the confirmation of the Monday close on the high and the low. And then you can just wait for the deviation. Nice low risk short trade, take profits on your longs, short it down to the low, sweep the low, reclaim the low, long the low, and then long that into the death cross and make your assessment, right? Because if the volume is picking up, even with the death cross, it may rally straight through the death cross. Then you just leave the longs on the table and you don't even need to close them. Just hold these longs all the way through. Okay, cool. So I hope that makes sense for you guys. We have a few more things to move through today. Let's see what else. What else have we got? We have USDT dominance taking out a pretty key level. That's what we wanted to see. We said this is the level, the area of interest. We came there, we set in a lower high, breaking down. Now you're coming back into key support. So this was kind of more or less what we formed this thesis on, that we would be looking for a move up like that over the course of the weekend. Had a lot to do with the USDT dominance. But you do have to be careful over here because this is still now theoretically major support, which I guess lines up with that overhead resistance that's going to be forming over here at this 107K. And it's got this. So I know a lot of moving parts, guys. Remember, we're moving so much more into actively trading the market as opposed to, more the swing trading approach, which is where we allocated aggressively into Bitcoin between $16,200 and $17,000. And we rode it all the way up. Now we late in the cycle and things are more risky. So you have to take a much more active trading approach. A lot of, focus on the market, a lot of moving parts, and then you execute the trade where the probabilities are the highest, and you're in and you're out. That's it, right? You're in and you're out. It is what it is. This is the best way to make money. Otherwise, if you don't like that and you're a longer term trader, the only non-financial advice that I can give you today is you need to consolidate aggressively your portfolio and not hold a massive basket of coins. I keep saying this and I'll keep repeating it for anyone that's new. If you're holding like this massive index fund of cryptos, you're going to get wrecked. Honestly, there still isn't enough liquidity to go around. You need to hold if you want to be the hodler mentality, you need to hold things. I guess ties in with Rand's multi-cycle theory. But I don't really personally subscribe to that, most of these coins will even make it multi-cycle. Like, things change very quickly. I would then just stick to Bitcoin, honestly. If that's what you prefer, right? If you prefer the buying and holding, your success is going to be coming in by just buying and holding Bitcoin. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. So therefore, USDT dominance, it's coming into this area. This is theoretically a bounce zone expected. It's probably going to happen. That bounce off of this zone over here, which is around that 5 to 5.1%, the bounce should lead to the sweep down into this zone over here, right? So the bounce should equate to an opposite reaction from Bitcoin, which should drive it down below Monday's low, 104,000. Hopefully that only happens like tomorrow, because then we have the confirmed Monday high and low. Remember, this is a floating range right now because it is Monday. So if you're watching this on Tuesday, this is your Monday ranges might be printed in a different place. USDT dominance. It is below key level, which is good. The yellow line over there, it has rejected currently. So your real hopium case is that this thing just absolutely craters, which we're not going to get the answer of that today. This will take a few weeks, but it's interesting because I'll show you when you look at ETH BTC chart, this would need to crater, right? You'd need to get like a massive full-blown euphoric phase like we've previously seen in November, December periods. You need to see this come down hard, right? And I'm obviously very hopeful that that happens, but I don't put my money where my hopes are, right? I actually look at the charts on the market, but I am hopeful for the sake of us having a good time together for a few more months that we do see something like this. And I'm also hopeful based on the scary poll results that we had over last week, which basically suggested that you guys are extremely, extremely invested in the market, that you also get that kind of a drop-off, right? So we will evaluate this each and every day. We're looking at others, which if you do get that kind of a drop-off on the USDT dominance, that should coincide with a pretty aggressive move up over here. This is attempting to reverse, which is very interesting on others, which you can look over on this today, right? The market cap for others is higher than total 1, and then total 3. And it kind of goes almost in that order, which shows you that there's this appetite at the moment, probably got a lot to do with this, with the recent news-driven events that are coming out. And then you can see ETH BTC. If ETH BTC is to form a bottom over here, this should also happen very quickly, like within the next 3 to 4 weeks, this should start traveling back up and recapture the green line. If you get above the green line, and that's what we said, the green line over there. So if you do that, if you get above this green line, which I'll give you the level, 0.03702, if you get above that, that will be a confirmed low into a demand area, which is what we said. And that's part of the reason why we did take the ETH trade on Pinex, because we believe that it's probably going to have better returns if the market turns bullish. Okay, cool. So we've been through a lot. We've gone through a lot of stuff over here. What else do we have? A lot of work to be done on the USD pair for ETH. Basically, it needs to get back above 3,900. Anything below there is risky, even though you have this beautiful bullish demand candle, strong weekly close over there to bring some optimism in the market. And yeah, don't get liquidated, guys. Don't over trade on leverage. Due to the market rebound, James Wynn, he got liquidated 12 times in 12 hours. After suffering 45 liquidations over the past 2 months, he finally had one winning trade, but instead of taking profit, he kept adding to that position, thinking it's a winner, and he got liquidated again. And now his account is $6,000. For anyone that's been under a rock and not in the crypto sphere, this guy wrote he took an account up to $100 million and then took it to zero. So from, I don't know what his initial capital was, but let's say a few $100,000 up to $100 million back to zero, and he keeps getting liquidated. All right. So the lesson over there is it's called full tilt. Fun fact, full tilt actually comes from the pinball machines. You know, those old games with the pinballs where you hit the little buttons and stuff, but not the ones on your Windows 95 PC. The ones actually in an arcade, right? And these guys used to try and tilt the machine. That's where the saying full tilt comes from, to try and win when they're losing. They try to tilt the machine to get the ball to go in the holes and stuff, right? So If you're going full tilt, which basically just means you're on a losing streak, you need to stop. That's the best thing you can do, is turn it off, right? And go on a prolonged break. For some of you, maybe a few days, some of you a few weeks. And I would say realistically, it's probably actually even a few months, because otherwise you go full tilt. That's what he did. And he's still full tilt, right? He hasn't stopped. He's revenge trading and he just keeps getting smashed. So I don't know where the money is coming from. Oh, he actually even wrote over here, made 100 million in 70 days trading perps on chain. Did the largest ever publicly trade along in Bitcoin at 1.2 billion. I mean, I can't believe that he doesn't mention, he put that in his bio, but he forgot to mention that he took it to zero like a day later. anyways, okay, cool. What else have we got, guys? So look, in terms of the trades as well, I do want to mention, if you do want to support the channel, there's a link over here. You can go in the description. A lot of these trades can be taken on Phoenix. You get a $30,000 sign-up bonus. That's where I'm going to be planning to take some of my spot. I have a little bit of spot on this account. It's about like $6,000. And the trades that I speak of over here on Phoenix, if you do want to follow along with them, these are with the low time frame trade setup. So let's go to this. So if we get the short trade, I'm going to look to margin short Bitcoin over there. And then I'm going to look to go margin long on Phoenix. If you want to participate on the same platform, so you get the exact same entries, the link is below, right? Alrighty, cool. What else? What else have we got, guys? Let's check over here in terms of his money is sponsored by Hyperliquid Wash Trading. Yeah, possibly. Who knows? I honestly don't know. Maybe it's not even real money, right? I don't know if they can do demo things like that or something. Who knows? I genuinely don't know. Let's get into the actual price chart. So I just want to highlight, because we haven't looked at the hourly time frame over here. You can see this over here, right? This is a pretty key level. Maybe I'll go on the 4 hours so we get a bit more history over here. Pretty key level. Look at that, all the way back. You see, resistance, chops about, eventually flips it into support, runs up, support, runs up, support, runs up, fails. So you can see how this is going to be an area of interest. And we'll go back on the hourly now. So I think that you're going to struggle at these candles over here, which lines up with that 0.786 level. So be careful. This has been a lot of candles up in a row, which builds up liquidity. Whenever you see a trend line that's sharp like that, just read underneath that liquidity. So you may go up a little bit more, but I do think eventually you're going to flush that liquidity, and that's where you're going to get your opportunity. Theoretically, this is all resistance, right? Which is why I only drew my arrows up until that point on BTC and ETH. Let's go to ETH, see what ETH is doing over here. So ETH, beautiful move. It can go a little bit more. You know, this is theoretically cleared a lot of important zones. Flipping that into support will be good. Then your next area of interest is like 3,880. Okay. Next, Hype was the other one that we wanted to update you on. Holding the trend line beautifully. Mention the trade over here. So you can see a lot of these trades, 15%. Really good, right? Starting to consolidate at these highs. You know, maybe you're going to run it up much more to like 46 over here, but I wouldn't be chasing price. I wouldn't be chasing price over here. Okay, let's go through a couple of other altcoin requests, maybe on the higher time frames. Zcash, let's quickly have a look at that. Super strong, still running. I still have a little bag that's running over here as well. I did take incremental profits. As I showed you on Saturday, that was pretty much near these highs. I'm not reallocating because I don't want to round trip anything. I'm happy with the money. I made the profits, the end. But I think that this can, you know, it can still go crazy, but allocating here in spot because you think it's going to thousands and thousands of dollars, I think is incredibly risky. I wouldn't do that. It's very rare that you'll see price run up, you know, let's say beyond 10 weeks in a row without any major corrections. We're working on week 6. So that's why I said, when was it that we said that? Last week sometime. I said that I believe this will have topped, major top, maybe even cycle top by December. I'm not going to say when in December. I don't know. Some points in December, I think it will be so overextended. Maybe that pushes it into the thousands, but I don't think you're going to get a 10x from here. That's all I'm saying. Like entering now is very risky if you're going for a 10x. So just manage your risk. You can always take the trade. Just monitor it on the low time frame. That's all. And in fact, even on Saturday, I actually said this is where you'd be looking to reallocate, is on that pullback, because we simply just highlighted the 50% level. And let's just quickly highlight that and see. We highlighted the 50% level. There you go. It was off this low over here. So you ran through that 50% level. You're fighting into it 520, and then you got a bit of a move up. So closes, you know, if you start to close these 4 hourly candles over here, you're probably going to take out those highs. Okay, what else? What else, guys? Let's go on the high time frames again and just go through a bunch of these. We'll have a look at, the likes of Solana's, etc., see where those things are at. So XRP, I'm just going on the weeklies, still range bound. We did mention that's range low. Theoretically, if you wanted that, you could trade that as a range. Solana, still, in my opinion, very risky because you broke that trend line. This is now very, very much like Bitcoin, where you need to assess the volume into this region. So let's actually do that over here. Let's just have a look at that chart on the daily and just see what the volume on Solana looks like. Okay, volume on Solana is the same as Bitcoin. It's dropping off. So volume on Solana is dropping off, just like Bitcoin is. And that is going to be a big, big, big resistance zone. So I said I wouldn't get long on Solana over here. In fact, it's more likely that you're going to put in a lower high and reject over here. And why do I say that? Well, it's simple, because the trend is your friend. And this thing is putting in lower highs and lower lows. And this is logically where you'd expect that next lower low to fall. Or lower high, excuse me. Okay, SUI, same thing. Nothing magical to shout about SUI over here. It has come into key support. Yes, it can bounce, but it also lost this trend line, similar to Solana. It doesn't look amazing. Okay, we already have probably the next lower high for Sonic, and this thing's coming down. So this thing is weak until it can get above 22 cents. Say, at key support, this thing can bounce, you know, it can go all the way up to like 24. Still nothing spectacular over there. We got, Cardano needs to get back above 62 cents to change anything. But it hit key support. There it is. It's just hit this a lot, which means if you do set in a lower high anywhere around here, the next time you hit 53 cents key support, it's probably going to lose it because it's too many tests of that level. AVAX also hitting key support. It can bounce over here, but any lower highs, same story. It's going to be weak in this area. So I wouldn't be taking in trades over there. TON is very weak. I'll just skip it. Okay, we almost hit the key level over here on Casper. If you do reject and come down one more time, I think a big bounce zone is 0.035. To be honest, I don't even know why we're even looking at these altcoins. I just do it for you guys because you want to see it. But I genuinely don't even consider taking any of these trades. Tron missed the short trade of a century. It's on its way down. XPL, nice move up over here. Still got a lot of work to do to prove itself. It's going to range for a while after a big sell-off, right? Okay, this we said coming into key support, holding this level. So a little bit of a bounce over here, but it's going to be range bound probably. So it might move up. Your highest level, I would say, is like 0.00633. Okay, ASTER, also a nice bounce out of here. Let's see if it can start to break this wedge. Falling wedge over here into key support. Okay, cool. Let me scroll through over here, guys. What else have we got in the comment section? Has everyone voted on the poll? Please go to the poll and vote. Let's see what you guys say. So, do you trust the pump? 45%. I don't think it's changed, right? It's probably all the same. Yeah, it's all the same, basically. Doesn't matter short-term trading. 20% of you. Well done. Look, short-term trading is not for everyone. So I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the other stuff. It's just that the later you are in a bull market, the more risky it becomes. So just remember that. It just becomes a little bit more risky. Okay, cool. What else? What else, guys? Okay, I'm just looking for if there's a common request over here. Common request. Artist, did you see a common request for something? What else? Okay, let's see. Yeah, we can have a look through. We can have a look through a couple of these others. Let's go to the dailies again. Let's just see what Hype's doing on that daily, since that was one of the trades that we mentioned. So this was the reason for the long. You know, the breakdown of, the break back above this downsloping trend line. We set a potential bump and run scenario. And we just noticed that when the rest of the market was weak, this was still holding some relative strength, which suggests that, you know, maybe it'll continue to do that. So if you took the near trade, I think it's a good one to continue to hold on to. Big level is, of course, going to be this 47. If you can begin to get above that 47, it's going to look good for basically back to new all-time highs. Ape, is this Ape? Apex, not ApeCoin. Apex, I still believe it's coming down here. All the way back down to 37. That's my call. I still think it's going to happen. Okay, what else? BNB, how's that doing? Also, like Solana, be very careful. Be very careful. This could reject from here. And theoretically, I'm going to mark off just a few levels just out of interest. Okay, 50% level, one significant zone. That is 1,128. Next level, I'm going to look from the breakdown fib to there, and I want to mark off the, let's just see where that super fib is. There we go. Okay, 1,050. So I would look for a rejection from about 1,050 as the most likely outcome. There's a good chance that it does that and rolls over. Be very careful. If it breaks and holds above that, great. We can reevaluate and say that maybe it's going to move into a choppy ranging market on BNB. Look, guys, we've had a long stream. I hope that does help you. We'll double check over here if there's anything else that I missed. So we looked at James Wynn. We covered all of that. We gave you some of these trades. We just need to check why that's not refreshing over here, because we have more than just these trades on the table. You know, you have your opportunity for your sign-up deposit bonuses on these. We've given you what to look out for. And look at the skews as well. Monitor those skews over here on the Whale Trades website. Is there anything else we missed on the Whale Trades website? I have updated as well the risk to reward tool, by the way, guys. This is probably the best one in the business. You got long shorts. You got like, it just populates everything for you. Everything is over there for you guys. Check it out if you haven't already. What else? What else have we got? So maybe some of the data will start to come out over here because a lot of it has been overlooked or paused. You know, even though the data was meant to come out because of the government shutdown, many things didn't come out. So that's probably going to bring volatility as well when the government shutdown does officially get lifted. Cool. If you want to follow me on any of the socials, everything is over here on the Whale Trades website. I will be answering, by the way, if you go to my Instagram, I will be answering a bunch of the questions. I do apologize. I was a bit late to that, but I'll be answering a whole lot of your questions that you dropped on Saturday, which are market related, it seems. So guys, I will see you all on the next one. I do hope you have a wonderful day. I think you should be very prepped, very ready for what comes next. And we will catch up later or tomorrow. Cheers, guys.